Hey BookTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer. Today I am doing an overview of the beat sheet from Save the Cat Writes a Novel. As an author who is still learning her craft, Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody has been extremely helpful. This video will be an overview of each of the beats. I will just briefly explain what each beat is to get you started. I have created a visual in my bullet journal to help guide you through each of the beats. Jessica Brody breaks up her beats into 3 acts, with Act 2 broken up into 2 parts. I've also included here a couple of main jobs for each act that you as the writer should be focusing on as you go through the beats to execute well on said beats. In Act 1, your main job is to get your reader to root for your main character. If your reader doesn't care about your main character, then they are going to stop reading. Simultaneously, you need to be showing how much your character's life sucks. Jessica Brody calls this stasis equals death. You really need to drive this home because otherwise there will be no room for change for the character, and then why are you telling a story? The first beat is a one scene beat, meaning it's simply one scene, and it is the opening image. The opening image is a snapshot of your character's life. It is used to show the character's life before you as the author come in to mess with it and change things up. The next beat is the setup, and this is where you show more of the character's life before you come in and mess it up. This will be their work, their play, and their family and friends. During the first part of the book, often during the setup, is another one beat scene, and that is the theme stated. The theme stated is simply a character, usually not the main character, telling the main character the theme of the book. Then comes the inciting incident, or the catalyst for the main character. This is a really big event that pushes the main character into Act 2 by making it so they literally cannot go back to their old life. Because it's such a big change in the character's life, it is followed by a debate scene, which is simply a one scene beat where the character can digest what has just happened and decide what they're going to do next. Because the catalyst pushes your main character into Act 2, the main character then has to decide actively to follow through and go into Act 2, and this is the break into 2. The next beat is another one scene beat, and it is the B story. This is where your main character meets new characters that will help them change in Act 2 along their character arc to complete their theme. Your main job in Act 2A is to give the reader the hook or blurb of your book. This is what the reader came here for. Harry Potter at Wizarding School. In Hunger Games, it's the kids fighting in the arena with each other. It's called the Fun and Games beat, not because the character is necessarily having fun, but because the reader is. This is why the reader came. Your second job is to show your main character solving their problem in the wrong way. So whatever problem they had in Act 1, they need to be trying to solve it, but in the wrong way, in external ways rather than internal ways. In Act 2B, your main job is to up the stakes. This is where you really wrench up the tension. This is called Bad Guys Close In. This can be real bad guys in your story, but you really need to have the bad guys of your character's internal problems coming out. So they've been trying to solve the problems in the wrong way. Now you're really showing how that's actually a bad thing and that they really need to solve their problem internally, but they still refuse to. To get to the All Is Lost, your character has 2 paths that they can take. The first is the upward trend in Act 2A. This is just where your character enters their new world and they thrive in it. Things are going well for them, they're fitting in, they're making friends. Even though they're solving their problems in the wrong way, their problems seem to be being solved. And of course you have ups and downs all throughout Act 2, because everybody has ups and downs as they try to change. But in general, the first half would be an upward trend. This climaxes at the 50% mark of your book with a false victory. It's a victory because, yay, something really good happened, but it's a false victory because as the reader, we know that 50% of the way through the book, not all their problems can be solved. The false victory is then followed by a downward trend where things start to go worse for your character. The other path is simply the opposite. It starts with a downward trend where your character really flounders in their new world as they're trying to get their footing, but they can't seem to quite manage to. This climaxes in a false defeat at the 50% mark. It's a defeat because something really bad happens for the character, something that's really hard hitting, but it's a false defeat because after this things are going to get a little bit better as it follows an upward trend and your character starts to figure things out a little bit and start to do better in their new world. The 50% point, whether it's a false victory or a false defeat, needs to be a really big deal because it is where your story pivots and it is where the start of the tensions being raised happens. After that, all of the tension builds up until your character hits their all is lost moment, and this needs to be the biggest moment in the book. It is literally all is lost. You want your reader to be saying, how in the world is the main character ever going to come back from this? The worse you make it, the better it will be. One way to make it really bad is to make sure that it is the character's fault. Whatever happens, it is the character's fault. If they had solved their problem in the right way in Act 2, then this would never have happened. It is of course followed by another debate scene where your character can digest what just happened, and this one is called The Dark Night of the Soul, which is a really awesome name for it, by the way. The Dark Night of the Soul has two parts. The first part is a wallow period where your character gets to feel bad for themselves because of all the terrible stuff that just happened. The second section is where they see the light at the end of the tunnel through an epiphany that they have, and their epiphany gives them the realization of what they need to do to solve their problem in the right way, which pushes them into Act 3. The first beat of Act 3 is Break into 3, and it's the same as Break into 2. It's simply showing your character proactively choosing to move into Act 3. You have two main jobs in Act 3. The first is to deliver on your promises that you've made throughout the book, and that is really hard to do, but this is your chance to do it. Act 3 is also where you prove that your character has changed, that they've learned the lesson that they were supposed to, and really drive home the theme. The main beat in Act 3 is Storm the Castle, and this is where the main character is trying to win the day. They're moving forward to their final goal. It's a big beat, and so it's broken up into 5 different parts. The first part is Gather the Team, and this is where they go back to either Act 1 or Act 2 characters or both, and they get their help. Sometimes this involves apologizing or making amends. The second section is Execute the Plan, and this is simply where they actually do what they were planning to do in Gather the Team. Then in Execute the Plan, they had this crazy plan, they're doing it, and oh my goodness, it's actually working, until the third section happens, which is the High Tower Surprise. And this is where they get bombarded by something that they didn't see coming, and they realize, oh, actually our crazy plan didn't work as well as I thought it was going to. This is a really good spot to prove your character's growth, because the next section is Dig Down Deep. Dig Down Deep is where your character has to figure out how to handle the High Tower Surprise. The final beat is Execute the New Plan, which is simply where after the character dug down deep and was like, I'm gonna do this, they actually do it. The final beat is another one scene beat, and it is the closing image. The closing image should mirror the opening image in a way that makes it obvious to the reader how different the character is now than when they started. The main job in the closing image is to show your reader that your main character's life is now happy because the main character, as you've proven in Act 3, has made the final changes that they needed to in order to complete the character arc. So that is a brief breakdown of the beats from Save the Cat Writes a Novel. Let me know in the comments below what structure you use in writing your novels or editing. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.